now take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell, and let me say Hotep, Habarigani, Ubuntu to my Africana Studies colleagues, contemporaries, colleagues, allies, and friends. I pray that there are a lot of us still alive. And let me hasten on to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I have always found goodbyes personally traumatizing. I said personally traumatizing goodbyes. Okay, my name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles. And we're located at 8916 South Main Street. And we're being hosted by our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church, of whom my good friend, the Reverend Dr. Adela F. Holliness, is the pastor. All right? So when you're in the area, God should touch your hearts. I'm going to go by and see what Martin is doing over there. Well, come on by. Let the usher know if you heard about us on KTYM Media, or you saw us on YouTube or Facebook, however the case may be. And or let me know when you come in. I will be overjoyed to welcome you and to receive you as our honored visitors and guests. All right? Anytime. All right. Again, we're located at 8916 South Main Street here in the city of Los Angeles. All right? This is a social justice offering, and so we try to stay a couple of decibels below the hoopalistic, but if you hear my voice rising, you know I'm excited. We have so much to be excited about. All right, we have two scriptures from the Old Testament I want to read in your hearing, and then I shall read two scriptures from the New Testament likewise in your hearing. All right? The first scripture in the Old Testament comes from the book of Ecclesiastes, and it is Ecclesiastes chapter 3. I'm going to read verse number 15, which says, "That which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and God requireth that which is past." And the 16th verse, "And moreover I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there." And I read those two verses because we have a tug of war going on in the Congress right now over the seating of a permanent attorney general. The man that wants that job is named Todd Blanche. He has been President Trump's personal private attorney. He has represented him in all of the thorny and fractious cases that have gone, some of them to the Supreme Court, and he has represented him in a lot of his civic lawsuits and disputes. In other words, that's his personal attorney, and Trump wants him to become the Attorney General of the United States. He's Trump's attorney. He says he's Trump's attorney. He admits that he represents Donald Trump. He doesn't represent the Constitution of the United States of America. And sadly, there is some doubt being created whether he can assume the task of being the Attorney General of the United States when he is avowedly only interested in the interests of the President of the United States, not the interests of the people of the United States. If you're going to be the Attorney General, you know, you got to be above the politics, above the fray, and the like. And it appears that wickedness has entered into that office. I'm not naive, as my good friend Tavis Smiley said. I don't have no naivete about it. I know there's always been politics in the Attorney General's office. I can just go back to Robert Kennedy and how he had a wiretap put on Martin Luther King's phone and other things. So a lot of times that political, you can't divorce the political from judicial. Just look at our Supreme Court, what a mess they have made in their rulings. But their rulings have been consistent in that they have helped the capitalists, they've helped they benefited the billionaires, and at all times they have harmed or hurt the poor, which I'm in the class with the poor. But let me go back to my other scripture. I'm taking up too much time here. My second scripture is in Micah 6 chapter, the 8th verse. Scripture I learned when I was first starting out as a young preacher. It was on the table, a little coffee table under glass. And it says, "He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God." Very, very simple. But oh, how we stumble at those words. Is that right? All right. So then we go over to the book of Luke's house, Luke chapter 12, and the 12th chapter, Luke chapter 12, the first verse, one clause of that first verse, the final clause, which says, "Beware ye of the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy." Then I'll catch all scripture in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 and 12. And this is what it says, of course. "Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." And you notice I put emphasis on the word whole and then the other word armor, because any chink in your armor, the wicked one will get in. Whether it's your sexual libido, which all of us still have, or fear, or angst, or anxiety, or pride, as I heard a preacher talk about today, or pleasure. Any of those things, the devil can get a chance to attack you, and he will attack you. He's attacked me. He attacks all of us, and that's why we have to put on the whole armor of God, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against what? Principalities. You got spiritual realms that you don't see, or I don't see, but they are here to attack us. And thank God there are others here to help us, but those attacks are serious. And you need to be able to push back against the principalities, against the powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. That said, very quickly, let me go to what I wanted to talk about today. Okay, it says oil profits are up. And I'll leave it to you to tell me why the oil profits are up. ExxonMobil made $14 million in May, June, and July. Shell made $12 billion in May, June, and July. And Chevron made $12 billion in May, June, and July. Contrarily, 15 million people have been dropped from subsistence, nutrition, and whatever those two other areas, the SNAP program. 15 million I can't hardly conceive of 15 million. I can't hardly conceive of 1 million, but 15 million? Poor people? That means families have been dropped off a snap. But the oil companies have made 15 billion in 3 months. All right, I'll go ahead on because I'm trying to get to all of my statements. Now, it says that blacks now spend $2 trillion annually. And I couldn't get my mind around 15 million people, but we're spending $2.5 trillion annually. Think about that. And as we go along, it says we cost Target $12 billion to $20 billion due to our boycotting their stores last year. All right, so you can take some solace in the fact that you were able to hit the man in his pocketbook. Now, I was dealing with the political, and it says here that Senators Thune and Cornyn will vote no on Todd Blanche to become United States Attorney General. Right now, he's acting. He's acting. You know, Trump always put the chairmanship under acting chairman, and because he can pull those people down and tell those people what to do. When you put somebody in an acting position, they don't have the security, the gravitas of having been confirmed by the Senate. So there's always a little asterisk by their name. Now, moving on, Senator Thune and Cornyn will vote no on Todd Blanche. They're both Republicans, I might add. Now, it says here that our Senator, Don Fetterman, broke with his party. In other words, he broke with the Democratic Party again by voting with the Republicans to block a war powers resolution reversing his stance on the filibuster and supporting select administration nominees. And you got friends like that looking out for you, you ain't got no friends. All right, let me deal with Mr. Max Miller. Mr. Max Miller is a Republican congressman in Ohio, and Mr. Max Miller is in danger of losing his seat. Remember, senators get elected. Well, he may not be a senator. He says congressman, but he's been accused of domestic violence. It says here that he pushed the girl down the stairs while in high school and scalded his ex-wife's chest and stomach, held a gun to her head, fractured his daughter's collarbone, and bruised her shoulder. And he's up for re-election. What do you think? The Republicans don't seem to have that kind of concern about domestic violence that you and I have. But I take domestic violence seriously. All right. Moving on. In political, let's talk about diplomacy. Because we're going to come back and talk about this Iran-Iraq war. That's what we're going to close out with. Diplomacy is in political science, diplomacy is the peaceful practice of communication, dialogue, and negotiation between nations and other global actors. In other words, instead of me getting a gun and shooting you and saying, you're going to do what I say or I am going to kill you. No, I take the other route. We sit down. We talk to each other. Say, I love you. You love me. We're going to negotiate. We're going to work this thing out. We're not going to fall out about it. We're going to work this thing out. We're going to calm our tempers down, and we're going to sit down and talk to each other like sisters and brothers, or like brothers, or like husband and wife, if it be that case. Okay? communication, dialogue, and negotiation between nations and other global actors. Diplomacy serves as the primary tool of foreign policy, aiming to advance a state's national interests without resorting to war or violence. What did Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu do in their diplomatic, when they were supposed to be doing diplomacy with the Iranians? They broke off the diplomacy. First time was back in June. They broke off in June. And they attacked the Iranians. They fired all the missiles trying to explode, so they claim, obliterate Iran's nuclear stockpile. And then Trump came out and said, we've obliterated that stockpile. Okay, but what were you doing before you went to violence? You were supposed to be in what? Negotiating, communicating, dialogue, and negotiation between nations and other global actors. It serves as a primary tool of foreign policy, aiming to advance the state's national interests without resorting to war or violence. There's too much violence in the world today. Europe was built on violence. Israel was built on violence. America was built on violence. What did they do? They came over here from Europe and they killed all of the Indians, committed genocide against the Indians in order to take their land violently. Didn't use no diplomacy. But you and I are told to talk it out. Is that right? Scripture tells us, come and let us reason together. All right. I won't go through the core functions of diplomacy. Bilateral, that means between two people, two opposing parties. Multilateral, you got more than two opposing parties. And but you can't do unilateral engagement. Case in point, if I come home when I was married and I had a wife, her name was Carrie, and if I bought something, I hadn't talked over her, she was gonna get upset. Why? Because we supposed to agree on these type of purchases before we do the purchases, and so those are the type of things that create friction in a household. Trust me, I know. Okay, now let's talk about war. Vladimir Lenin defined war not as an accidental event or moral failure, but as the continuation of politics by other means. That's what war is, continuation of politics by other means. We done tried to talk, now I'm going to beat it out of you. Which is what Donald Trump is trying to accomplish by all of this bombing and all of these massive assaults on the Iranian infrastructure and all of their military bases and all of that type of thing. He's trying to pound them into submission. And sometimes you can't pound people into submission. The more you pound them, the more they resist. And I think Donald Trump is learning this the hard way, that he should not have listened to Benjamin Netanyahu entice him into attacking Iran. War is a continuation of politics by other means, specifically as an inevitable outcome and extension of the economic contradictions of capitalism and the class struggle. Lenin argued that war between nations reflects domestic class conflicts, dividing all armed conflicts into either unjust imperialist wars or just revolutionary and liberation wars. And the whole civil rights struggle was a just and a revolutionary liberation war. Dr. King sought diplomatically to highlight the wrongs and put, as he said, make a creative tension where you had to talk about it. The city fathers had to do something about it because it was all over the news. All right. Now, the nature of imperialist war. Imperialists, capitalistic roots. Wars arise directly from capitalism's highest stage, imperialism, where dominant nations fight to control global markets, raw materials, and colonies. You got ruling class interests. In this country, you had, way back in its founding, you had the landed class against the non-landed class. The landed class had all the property, all the land, and the non-landed class is just that. They didn't have no land. And that's how this country was founded. Ruling class interests. Armed conflicts like World War I are fought for the enrichment and consolidation of power for capitalist elites using the working class as soldiers. Case in point, in the U.S. Civil War, some of you history buffs, remember, if you had so many slaves, you didn't have to go to war. You could stay home. You could spend $300 to send somebody else to go fight in the Civil War. And a lot of that was done on the North side, on the Union side, to the point where Abe Lincoln and the folks said, we can't win this war. We keep letting these $300 bounty people get by without fighting with it. All right. So, politics is the way groups of people make decisions, gain power, and run a government. And you can say politics, you're not interested in politics, but politics is very definitely interested in you. Politics is the way groups of people make decisions, gain power, and run a government. It includes how a country is led, the rules people live by, and how power is shared in everyday group. Why do you think the Southerners didn't want the Negroes to vote? Because they didn't want the Negroes to share in how the government was formed or run or regulated. If you can't vote, then I ain't got to worry about you. That's why Strom Thurmond and Bilbo and Rankin and all that crowd before them assumed so much power in the United States Congress. They were chairman of all the main committees. All right. Government and power. Making, changing, and enforcing laws that affect everyone. Winning control how leaders and political parties fight for or hold on to power. Sharing resources. Deciding who gets money, support, and services. You check the record of this nation and you will see that after the Civil War, after Reconstruction, that the Negroes were paying taxes. Oh, did we ever pay taxes? But you were not getting the reward. You were not sharing in the benefit. We had, you were not able to go to the schools or the universities or even swim in the swimming pool or go to the public library. But you were paying taxes for that library just the same. But the difference was that you were not able to make any decisions on how the power was shared. And so the ruling class in that case, the white people, had said, we're going to make these Negroes pay for our food, but we're not going to let them swim. As a little boy, my family used to go down to Galveston in the summertime because it got hot in Texas. And when you used to be doing segregation, you come in and you go down to the beach, but you couldn't go direct to the water. You had to go maybe 5 miles, 10 miles more down to what they call the down beach. Up beach was where the white folk was in the water. You had to go down past a gate way down there. Same Gulf of Mexico, but you better not get in that water with them white folk. And that wasn't only in Texas. They killed a young black boy for getting in the water there in Chicago during a racial segregation. So it wasn't just that it was the South, it was also up north. But I digress. I also wanted to make mention that when Donald Trump says he's going to hold up on the war after 14 nights, 5 minutes, it's because that the United States is using up all of their available Tomahawk missiles. Case in point, Vladimir Zelensky has made a deal with the United States to begin developing under license the Patriot missile in Ukraine. You know, Trump overspoke himself, because you don't give nobody no license to make my secret weapon in your country. I can't get, in other words, once you get it, it ain't secret no more. And like we do, like these politicians are doing, there's always leaks, and somebody always gonna make a copy of the schematics and all the intricacies. But again, as I'm saying, we're running low. That's what I really wanted to say on critical munitions. That's why Trump is trying to hold up. But they have resumed because Iran is firing, and they don't just fire one; they fire 6 and 6 and 6 and 6 and 10 missiles and drones at a time. And so I think I did another broadcast where I told you how much these things cost, and it costs a lot of money to have a Patriot missile. As I close, it says that I wanted to get to this part right here. I mentioned that we had the Patriot missile, but we're running low on Patriot missile. We're supposed to give Zelensky, Ukraine, 300, but we can't do it because we ain't got them. If we give him 300, well, where our 300 gonna come from? That's the point. All right. But if you go to the Center for Strategic and International Studies, you can get a copy of this report right here. You can see it. It outlines all of these missiles that we're going to, our stockpile, how many we got left, how many we had before the war, and how many we got left, and what's the delivery time before we can get some more. And that is it. And there it says here, these 7 munitions come in 2 groups: long range ground attack and 2 air and missile defense. They have been highly effective in fighting this war, and expenditures have accordingly been high. Large numbers are also needed for a future conflict in the Western Pacific. Many allies and partners use these systems as well, creating competition for output. The Trump administration recently announced a series of agreements with industry to boost production and put missile inventories on a wartime footing. The large quantities of munitions in the President's fiscal year 2027 budget request further underscore the urgency of rebuilding and expanding the inventory. Near-term deliveries, however, are relatively low because of small orders in the past. Even if Congress appropriates the requested fiscal year 2027 funds, it would take years for these missiles to be delivered. That is why Trump is trying to cut back. As I close, excuse me, not as I close. I mentioned last week THAAD, the THAAD missile. And what that THAAD means, Terminal High Altitude Area Defense. A very effective missile that's been very effective in knocking out a lot of the Iranian incoming drones and ballistic missiles. Problem is, it only costs Iran maybe $35,000 to make a drone. It don't cost what it costs us to make a missile. So they can shoot that stuff at us all day, and it don't cost them what it's costing us to shoot a Patriot or shoot a Tomahawk missile. Again, I'm out. But if you're working on a job, they don't want to pay you, take my considered and concerned advice and don't work for them. Thank you, Doc. We out of here. Keep the faith. Keep hope alive.